Hi, I'm David.
And I'm Rachel.
And welcome to Leisure Bit. And today we've got an update on the channel and we've got some questions to celebrate our first month of ownership of the van and over 6 months of having the channel running now. So let's get cracking. So 1 month into having the van and pretty much 7 months now since starting the channel, albeit it was a bit of a slow start. And I remember when starting off I thought I'll have the van in September, and it was July at this point, so I thought I'd better get cracking. But it ended up being January, so we're a month on now, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, I would just like to say an absolutely massive thank you to everybody who's supported the channel so far. Yesterday, which was Monday, we went over 500 subscribers, and absolutely outstanding with that, and thank you so much. It means the world to me.
And to me, to Roxy. It honestly, guys, I can't thank you enough. I never, ever, ever expected it, ever. Thank you. Really, thank you.
And I think I expected it even less when I thought about starting up the channel. So really, really appreciate the support. It genuinely means the world. So also on top of that, 74 followers on Twitter and 216 followers on Instagram as well. And appreciate it's not a cumulative total on that, because some of you guys are absolutely amazing and you follow us across all 3 channels. But just to say an absolute massive thank you again. It means the world, and it really, really does, genuinely from the heart. Thank you. So we thought it would be nice just to ask each other a few questions about our journey so far, just to share a little bit of insight. So let's go.
Right, so I'm going to start off asking some questions to begin with to David. So why did you set up the channel? What made you set up this YouTube channel?
So there was a number of reasons why I set it up. The first one was I wanted to take a different angle on some of the things and wanted to do some different things. You'll have probably watched some of the previous videos, if not, just checking the video list for something called Camper Control, which is something I fancied doing. When I bought the van, there was a few things I fancied doing differently, and to be perfectly honest, just before I kind of mention that, the vans are lovely, you know, as they come from the factory, so there's nothing wrong with them. But I wanted to do some little bit extras just to personalise it for me and just add some additional bits and pieces. And I thought that was something, when I looked around, that people weren't doing. And I watched a number of people grow their YouTube channels, and I thought it was actually quite useful to be able to share that journey. And also, as many other people have done, it is fantastic to actually create a catalogue of what you've done so you can yourself look back on it. When we previously had the motorhome, I always fancied setting something up to kind of capture where we went to and share it on. And it got me thinking that it's actually a really great way to kind of capture and share your adventures, as well as the tech stuff. For those of you that know me or figuring out, I'm actually quite an introvert person, so it's not something I would normally do. And if you watch back to some of the earlier videos, you'll really see that, you know, I was pretty scared in front of the camera and that sort of thing. But hopefully I've kind of worked on it. So the second part for me was about helping build a little bit of confidence and to try and do something useful. You know, hopefully YouTube will be around for years and we'll be able to look at things when we're a little bit older, you know, with a bit of luck, and have a look through and see the adventures and the stories of what we got up to in the camper van. I think you were a little bit surprised, weren't you, when I said I was going to set it up?
Extremely surprised when David said he was going to set up a YouTube channel. I was like, from obviously I've been with David for a long time now, and he's always shied away from anything like this. And so there was quite a few raised eyebrows when he said he was going to do it. But But actually, it's been nice to see your personal journey on this, as well as the journey through the campervan. And we did do something in the motorhome quite similar, very, very basic. We wrote down all of our trips and kind of marked them and decided. So this, I suppose, it's technology evolution, isn't it, really? So 7 months in, have you learnt anything?
I didn't have a clue what to do when I started off. I was I'd used YouTube over probably a decade for odds and ends and, you know, watching bits and pieces, but never really thought about being a creator as such. And I kind of had to research and see how to do it, because I wanted to try and put my own little stamp on it. And I know a lot of things you end up doing, loads of other people have done, but you try and find your own unique style to doing it. So I was trying to find my way there. I think at some points I maybe made it a little bit too corporate as well, but I wanted to establish kind of a brand and an identity to kind of associate with it, hence where Leisure Bit came from. What I've learned, this is speaking from a kind of YouTuber space, is I watched loads of videos and it had loads of information around, you know, you need to set yourself up with this, you need to set yourself up with that, you need to do this to get the algorithm working, and blah blah blah. And some of those things I actually don't think have particularly helped me. One of them was setting up things like associates accounts, and quite frankly it's just been a nuisance, because I don't see it bringing any real value. It kind of made me think about what the channel was about as well, and some of the things that I've done as I've kind of gone through, on reflection you think, actually, should I have done that, shouldn't I have done that? But I think the main thing is you don't need to spend a fortune on gear either to get set up. Some of my most successful videos were filmed on the on the phone, basically, rather than needing anything more fancy than that. Before anyone comments, yeah, it's a relatively fancy phone, and the camera technology's come a long way in the you know, past few years with phones, but it's your movie studio and your music studio in your pocket. So I think you don't need anything fancy if you want to set up. That's what I've learned as a YouTuber. I do try and improve on each time I go, and again, sincerely thank everybody for the support, for everyone that presses the thumbs up, for everyone that makes a comment, and for everyone that subscribes to the channel. It means the world, because it just encourages you to keep moving along. It
makes such a difference, doesn't it, to see the comments, yes, and when people give you a thumbs up. So thanks again, guys. 7 months in, Leisure Bit, what next? What's your vision? What's your strategy for it?
So I've got 6-12 months worth of thought ahead content. There's obviously the adventures, which try and feature on a Tuesday, and then the kind of how-tos and other things which we normally try and do on a Thursday. Conscious we're a little bit wonky at the moment, and that's my kind of medium term. So you've got things coming up such as lithium battery installs, that should be here this week with a bit of luck, and then it's getting it installed. You've got all of the other things you'll have seen that are kind of trickling the way through about getting installed. So and just one comment on that: when the van arrived, I was totally overwhelmed with the amount of stuff I'd got, and to be perfectly honest, I think it stressed me a little bit when I got it, because suddenly you think, whoa, what do I do first? And I don't want to make a pig's ear of it either, and I'm sure I will on some bits, but I genuinely don't want to do a bad job. You know, I want to keep the van nice. I really like the van, so it's about adding things that add value rather than not monetary value, life value, that are going to make a difference, rather than actually just fiddling on for the sake of it. You know, when we run out of jobs, maybe start fiddling on for the sake of it. But I've got such a long list of jobs when I was writing through what I needed to do, and I just wish I had more time to do them. But steadily just chipping away at them, slowly but surely. And what's really helpful is it's making me really think about what camper control should do to add value rather than just doing things for the sake of doing things. Longer term for the channel, beyond kind of the things I've got planned and beyond kind of hopefully perpetual adventures for as long as possible. The other thing, I don't really know beyond that, because I think it depends how things move and grow. Who knows where it goes. I'm sincerely looking forward to sharing with you kind of our adventure, both in terms of doing stuff to the van and going places in the van. And we've tried to balance the two of them, as you've probably seen so far. So we're definitely trying to get out and about, and we're 5 nights away in it. And how have you felt, Rachel, though? Because I think I was the driving force behind getting the camper van, probably more than I should have been. But how have you? How are you finding it? Because it was, I suppose, my dream and vision, and I think you've come along on the journey, haven't you?
Yeah. So, as David said, we did go looking at vans and stuff a couple of years ago, and it has definitely been David's passion. He's always wanted to do something like this, and I know David, so I know that there's no point getting in his way and stopping him. And I thought, well, we'll see how we get on. I'm loving it. I'm really, really loving it. I'm loving getting back out on the road and going to different places. I'm really enjoying going to even just places that are in the local proximity to us, and looking at what's on my doorstep, sharing the northeast with you guys that aren't in the northeast and the Yorkshire Dells, etc. To me, that's magical, to be able to share some of the things that I really enjoy. I'm surprised, and I know I shouldn't be, but how big the space is. I think I was really worried because I'd only been in a couple of times in the dealers before we bought it. I just thought, oh, is this going to be too small? It's not. It's perfect. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
I'd agree on that, actually, because you always worry when you order something, especially when you're my height, where you're over 6'4", getting on 6'5". Some would argue maybe over 6'5", but we'll stick at 6'4", 6'5". But apart from, I've had one problem, Roxy, because she keeps coming and sleeping at my feet, so I end up having to curl up. But other than that, absolutely spot on, and I'm loving the CV20. I think the layout's perfect. Took quite a lot of finding on the layout because I hadn't really looked at it at first, but for me, it's perfect. I think if you're shorter, you open up more options when you can sleep transversely across the van. In the words of McDonald's, I'm loving it.
And do you know what? I'm so eternally grateful that Roxy has decided to sleep with you. So thanks, Rox. You get an extra dentist stick when I get in. So David, before we touched very briefly on you were a bit stressed by the amount of stuff that you'd bought whilst you were waiting for the van, and those that have watched probably saw that table out in the garden stacked with things that were on the floor. The garage was stuffed with things. What has been the one thing that you've bought that you really regret buying?
Too many pans.
Too many pans.
But fortunately, you managed to sell on the surplus pans. So basically, I was a victim of FOMO, as they call it, off the CV owners Facebook group, and these pans had come up in Lidl, so I was obsessed to go and think I need some of them. But actually, how many pans do you need on it? So we got the Ridge Monkey, as you've perhaps seen in some of the videos Rachel's done, and we got a frying pan and got another pan and one other than that. What more do you need in terms of pans? Watch this now, I've said that, I'm going to get caught out at some point where we haven't got the right pan, but actually sold on the pans, I think for the same price we paid for it, if not more actually. So moved those on to avoid them going to waste. There's a couple of bits and pieces I got and just haven't used yet, and there's loads of stuff got round to not finishing fitting yet, but there's nothing other than that at the moment I've thought, oh crikey, I shouldn't have got that. I am holding back on some other things that I've spotted, and I think, oh, I'd love to do that, because you just got to cut through the jobs and then get on with it.
What's the thing that you've loved? What's been your best buy so far, apart from the van, obviously?
So, as far as practical use, I love the telly and the sound bar. So when I've been pottering on doing jobs, I can play my music on the sound bar, and I've actually found it quite relaxing when I've gotten on with it, and I'm pleased with the telly. Quite boring, I know, but ask me again in another couple of months and I think the answer would change. But at this point in time, I think the soundbar and the TV have been definitely the best buy, because cracking picture, and the soundbar's brilliant for listening to your music and things like that. So I had wondered, you know, had I done the right thing in terms of getting that, especially the soundbar. It's not fell off yet either. That's probably my favourite thing at this point. But I do like the lights I've fitted in the cab as well, because that's really lightened that up. So keep an eye open for that video coming very soon as well, so you can have a look at that.
Fab. So we've planned quite a few trips for this year. Which trip are you looking forward to the most?
Scotland. So we've got a trip planned in June, and we are heading up to Carbridge. We're going to go via the Kelpies, because that looks absolutely something fantastic to go and visit, and I quite fancy going on the Falkirk Wheel too while we're there, and we're going to stay just near there on the first night. Then we're off up to Carbridge to see Rachel's friend and her husband, and we spend a couple of days there. Then we are going down past Loch Ness and then over to Skye for a couple of days, and then we're getting the ferry from Skye, and then we're going to Auburn, then from Auburn to Arran, and then having a couple of days in Arran, and then coming back and stopping somewhere on the way back. So that's probably what I'm looking forward to most in the year, but I'm actually looking forward to our Lake District trip and our trip to the Harrogate motorhome show, and a couple of other trips we've got planned in March as well, because that's very soon.
I've got to say, I'm super duper excited about going to see my friend in Carbridge. That it's been 4 years because of COVID, etc., and I just can't wait for us to get on the road and get there. So looking forward to that. Dave, my last question for you is: you spent months and months, over a year, waiting for the van. Has it met or exceeded your expectations?
So it's exceeded the expectations, and whilst it was a heck of a long wait, and if anyone's waiting for a van, I know how you feel. I really do. And I tried to keep my chin up and bought a load of stuff, as you'll have seen in the video, and tried to entertain myself, trying to learn how to do this YouTube malarkey. And I genuinely think it has exceeded my expectations, and I'll tell you for why. I think it's a lovely van, first of all. The automatic's great, got the 9-speed auto, and I think that it drives nicely, you know, pleasure to drive. It's not too big. You definitely notice the difference compared to the previous motorhome we had, which was obviously significantly longer. It's comfortable, and I think it's quite cosy as well. And as long as you've set the heating at the right point, it's lovely and warm. I think that it makes good use of space. Obviously, you've not got the space you would have in a 8-metre coach built, but actually you've got all the space you really need for most things, and I think it's pretty comfy as well. So I am dead chuffed with it, as they would say. How about you? Yeah,
as I said before, I love it. Really enjoying it. Loving getting back out into the countryside and seeing different places. The van I've got to say, externally, it looks pretty beautiful as well. Comfy, cosy inside. Loving going to places to eat and stay. So yeah, exceeded expectations, definitely.
I think we'll call it a day there for the video. Thank you again ever so much, everybody, for
thank you
subscribing, for liking, for commenting, for sharing, you know, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook or Twitter, you know, wherever you find us. Thank you, genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah.
And just one final point, I mentioned earlier about affiliates programs and things, and I was in the Amazon's affiliates for a little bit. Didn't make an awful lot of money from it, just over a £5, just for clarity there. But what I'm going to do is, remember the prize giveaways we had? We made a little bit of money just selling on bits and pieces of that to people that were interested in, and you've probably seen on the website that wanted to kind of donate that to charity. So we thought we'd donate the equivalent of the money to Stand Up to Cancer, as it's touched both of us very closely. So thank you, and let's make a difference with that. So to finish off with then, just like to say a massive thank you again. I hope you're enjoying the channel, and please continue to comment, continue to like and continue to share, and we absolutely love it, and we will catch you on the next one. Love your feedback.
Thank you.
Bye bye.